church family. 2020 was my first calendar year on staff as the youth and family pastor at Bel Air Church of the Nazarene, and I can say that it will be a year to remember. At the beginning of the year, I remember praying and feeling that God would move and work within the life of our youth ministry. While 2020 was difficult for many reasons, I believe that God did this. Last year, in the difficulties of a pandemic, injustices, division, mental health issues, God was present and God still worked in our community. And I am grateful for the prayer, support, and love our community has shown me as a leader and our youth ministry. And I'm especially grateful and thankful for the phenomenal youth workers and student leaders that I get to minister alongside each week. Watching their commitment and love for God has been a way that I have experienced and seen God at work in my life. Last year, one of our main focuses in Bel Air Youth was developing student leaders. I believe that leadership development and youth leadership or youth ministry is not just about developing leaders for the church tomorrow, but about developing leaders for Christ's church today. And I believe we did this. We had many teens step up in leadership. For example, on Sundays, through reading scripture, writing poems for service, and sharing their experiences and beliefs with our communities. Our teens also helped out and served in the children's ministry with Heather, on the tech team with Dan and Glenn, with Lara in the Connections ministry, and in other areas of our church. And within our own youth ministry, we invested in some of our teens to step up and make the youth ministry their own. They accomplished this by planning fall retreat, summer camp, and even youth group. All three of these were successful last year. Our teens stepped up and planned and made the weeks of summer camp and fall retreat happen. These are two of the biggest events that we have as a youth ministry, and they had to change because of the pandemic. And they were successful. And I believe they were successful because of the work and the effort and the commitment that our student leaders put into these events. And God still worked even though we weren't able to go away for those events. God worked in our teens' lives and community was built. And I'm especially proud of how our teens were hospitable to others who joined us for those weeks. This brings me to the focus for this year. This year, I want to focus on serving our church in Harford County. To paraphrase a wise man named Cardi Ingram, when it comes to living out our faith, we have two choices: to be consumers or to be servants. I want our group to be committed to serving and loving other people. One of the scripture passages that captures this is in John chapter 13, when Jesus washes the disciples' feet. In his last few hours on earth, Jesus took the opportunity to serve rather than to be served. I want this to be our commitment as Bel Air Youth. So throughout this year, we are going to participate in different service projects and initiatives as a way to love like Jesus and to cultivate a servant mind. Another focus is going to be on small groups. Since the fall, we have added 3 small groups that meet bi-weekly. We have started our Encounter group, which is a small group focused on spiritual formation for high schoolers. We have began a middle school boys small group, which is led by 2 of our own high school boys. And it's just amazing to see them pour and invest in their peers and those who are younger than them. And this Sunday, we are beginning a high school boys small group. We are providing more time for our teens on Wednesday nights for small groups. I believe that small groups are essential for our ministry because they build a community centered on authenticity, vulnerability, and open dialogue. And I have seen God at work through our conversations this past year in small groups. As we look forward to the rest of 2021, I'm excited for what God has in store. Outside of service projects and small groups, we will have different opportunities to be a community that loves Jesus and loves like Jesus. This summer, I believe we will have many opportunities to do this, but 2 I'm excited about are the Encounter trip and our summer retreat. In July, Beth Miller and I will be taking a group of 11 high school students on a spiritual formation trip. This is the first year that this group has been together, and I'm excited to see how God will continue to work on this trip because God has been at work in our conversations. And I'm excited to see how God will use this small group in the years going forward to cultivate a group who loves Jesus and who loves like Jesus. I'm also excited for our summer retreat. The last weekend of July, our church, Rising Sun, and York Still Meadow will go away for a weekend retreat where we talk about identity. And I believe that God is going to use this retreat and the encounter group, as well as our other gatherings throughout the year, to shape us into people who live out our mission at Bel Air Church of the Nazarene to love Jesus and love like Jesus. As I wrap up my report, I have 2 prayer requests. The first would be for mental health. This last year, mental health struggles have risen. Anxiety and depression are realities that many teens are currently experiencing. The separation, isolation, loss of rhythm, and other realities have resulted in mental health struggles. Please be praying that God works in each of these situations through their families, our community, and mental health professionals to bring the wholeness that God desires. I also ask you to pray that the Spirit continues to light a fire within our youth. I'm continually encouraged and inspired by how our teens are living out their spiritual walks. Pray that they continue to be open to what God has for them in these formative years, as well as that God uses them to spread his love in every situation that they find themselves in. I believe God is on the move in the community of Bel Air Church of the Nazarene, and I am convinced that part of God's movement is in and through our amazing group of teens, leaders, and families of Bel Air Youth. Respectfully submitted, Pastor Jared.